Hotep, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Barakani, Alafia, and Ashe. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters, and welcome to Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. And here's our host, Minister Omari.
All right, you guys, welcome to Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. I'm your host, Minister Omari, Jahi, Aton, and today we're going to be teaching from one of the chapters of the book, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. It's chapter 4, and it's entitled Vantage Point. And we're going to jump right into it, okay? Now, I once saw a movie entitled Vantage Point. I don't know if you guys saw this movie or not, but this movie was about, showing us the same scene, but from many different vantage points. It was the same scene. Matter of fact, it was a TV series, I believe. It was like a police TV series, but they turned it into a movie. And they were showing a crime that had happened, but they were showing it from different people's vantage point. And vantage point, again, is based on wherever you seem to find yourself, how you see things from the position from where you are at that particular time. How do you see things? And so that's kind of what this chapter is all about. What is vantage point? It is the position that you are in and what you see from that position. As you are sitting, wherever you may be at this time, looking at this video, what you see from that seat is your vantage point for that moment. But when you move from that seat to sit in another seat or stand in another area of the same room, what you see in the room changes. Your vantage point changes. So, how do we see things in life? Do we see things like the horse? You know, they have those blinders on the horse so that the horse only sees what's directly in front of them. It says, or maybe we see things with rose-colored glasses, causing us to believe that everything is beautiful. However we see things in life, we cannot allow ourselves to become trapped in any of it. You have to be able to understand that from whatever perspective, vantage point you may be in, you have to be able to see things from multiple vantage points. You have to be able to sit in one spot and be able to see the entire room from different vantage points from your mind's eye. Now, how we see the world as children being so large and so vast that it's just our neighborhood was like a city to us. But now, as adults, we realize that our neighborhoods were very small in comparison to the city. But what if our vision and understanding of our neighborhood did not change as we grew up? I'm gonna read that again. It says, but what if our vision and understanding of our neighborhood did not change as we grew up? We would be very fearful to leave the hood, my city, my world. Now, this is where grown-ups are supposed to come into play. We are supposed to expose our children to the vastness of the city and to the vastness of their minds to expand and receive and experience new things. It is our job. I'm gonna say that again. It is our job and our duty to plant seeds in the rich, dark minds of our children. But unfortunately, so many of us have been abandoned to discover the experience things called life on our own, and usually from one single vantage point. Well, we'll find something that gives us comfort and provides us with a sense of safety. And we sit there and experience life from that vantage point. But everything changes, nothing stays the same. Y'all have heard the song, right? Everything must change, nothing stays the same. We read that when a child experiences any form of trauma in their life, they emotionally stop growing from that point. This is very true. A lot of us probably don't know this, but it's very true. When a child experiences trauma, from the point that that trauma, however old they were, when they experience that trauma in their life, they emotionally stop growing from that point. Therefore, they have teams that are supposed to come out and talk to victims and even witnesses of traumatic events. That's what's supposed to happen because they understand that without some form of therapy, emotional therapy, after a person goes through trauma, that you can be stuck. You could be actually stuck in the emotional and what else would I call it? The I guess emotional is the best word for it. The emotional age that you experience that trauma. But what do you get when you're outside playing and as a child, you're outside playing and you see your best friend get hit by a car and killed? How do you process that? What happens to you when you come home from school and find your mother or father dead in the house? How is that trauma processed? What happens to you when you see a person's head blown off on a television? And I mean vision. When you see a person's head blown off on the television, these are traumatic events where, like soldiers that come home from the war, we need counseling. They call it PTSD. We need counseling. We need therapy. But where are the team of psychologists for you and for me? We are all left stuck emotionally at the age of 10, 11, 5, or whatever the age this event took place. Therefore, it is so hard for us to see our lives from other vantage points. We are stuck in our adolescent comfort zone. That's the word for it. We are stuck in adolescence, childlike. Just imagine yourself sitting in the seat you're in right now for the rest of your life, and everything that you see and know about the world is confined to that room. Just imagine this. How much of the world will you really know? And how much will you want to know? You see, if if whatever you see in the room you're in right now, if that's what you were confined to for the rest of your life, would you, at some point, you would get comfortable, or you would, I guess comfortable is the right word, you would get comfortable in and accepting the reality of your situation, just accepting it. You know, you wouldn't be looking for nothing more. Remember, we are talking about your emotions being frozen, like being stuck in that chair, and you not being able to experience life from the emotions of a grown man and woman, but only like a child. I know this is a bitter pill to swallow, and it sounds like we are, I guess you call it drowning you in some way, but or downing you in some way, I should say, in some way. But please hear me out, because see what we're trying to say here, and just imagine, because see, I don't know. Um, See, I grew up. Excuse me. I grew up, my mother was super, super, super protective of her children. She didn't hardly let us go outside. When we were real young, we couldn't even go out and play in the front or anything. We had to play in the house. Go to school, come home, eat, do our chores, this and another. We had to play in the house. We couldn't go outside. I think she started letting me go out in front of the house. I think I was about 11 when she allowed my sister and I to go out, and I couldn't really play because my job was to watch my sister, make sure nothing happen to her, you know. But my point here is that what we are experiencing when we experience trauma as a young child, and I never experienced this trauma, so I don't really know what it is personally, but because I've studied this in order to write this book, I studied the concept of trauma for years. And we'll probably get into that at some other point. But I've studied it, and I come to the realization of this is by design. The fact that we go through trauma and nobody comes to help us transition past that traumatic experience into maturity and growing and transforming and evolving. You know, there's a young lady that's related to my wife. I'm not going to say who she is. She her traumatic experience was losing her son. Her son died in a car accident. You know, and since then she hasn't been the same. You know, that trauma, and nobody has come. And you know, and now that I think about it, you know, black people have a problem with what would I call it? With emotional and psychological therapy. See, this thing called therapy or seeing a psychiatrist is, it seems that black people have been under the assumption that if you get therapy, or if you go see a psychiatrist, you're admitting that you're crazy. That only crazy people see psychiatrists. That seems to be the going thing in the black community, and this is why but now, mind you, they still don't send teams of psychologists and and therapists into our community when, I mean, they should have what they call it, triages and a base of psychiatric and psychologists all throughout the black community, with all the trauma that's going on in black communities, and so that we could be helped when we experience trauma like this. But there's nothing. Nothing exists. There is nothing or no one that is in our community that that is there to help us to overcome trauma. And again, it's by design. And the end result is the creation of a generation of people that are making decisions in life from the emotions of a child that was not allowed to grow up with the body. The body grows up, you become a teenager, you become a young adult, you become an adult, body-wise. But emotionally, you are still 11. You're still 8 years old. You're still 6 years old. And we're making decisions in our grown-up lives from a 6-year-old emotional mindset. seeing things and coming to conclusions like a child. But we're grown men and women. This is why we have grown selfish men and women, grown spiteful men and women, grown vindictive men and women. See, these are child or adolescent is the word. These are adolescent, what would I call it? Characteristics. That's a word I would use. Being selfish. Grown men and women are not selfish. Children are. Just watch your children. And then I want you to, let's do a little experiment. For the rest of this day, hopefully you have some children in your house. If you don't have some children in your house, maybe at some point you are around children. Maybe you work around children, things of that nature. Look at how children interact with each other and see, don't you see selfishness? See, don't you see spitefulness? See, don't you see vindictiveness in them? And then start looking at your friends, your family, grown people around you, and see, don't you see the same thing? But it's because of trauma at a young age that the individual or the child never got help. We never get help with this trauma. And so we're stuck in those adolescent ages, in those adolescents' mindsets, I should say. And we never grow up. This life is nothing but an elementary school for God's children. But unlike the school that we send our children to today, each child must sit in every seat of the classroom to see life from every angle or every vantage point of the room. For when the pupil or the student or when your vision is ready, the master will appear. And the master is none other than the teacher. So, in review, what are we saying? And when I say sit in every chair, what am I really saying here? And see, and you guys have to, how can I say it? You guys got to experiment with this thing, what we're talking about, vantage point. I've been in many conversations with people, and they've talked about how you have to see things from the other person's perspective. You know, that's vantage point. This is what I'm talking about as far as vantage point. Being able to see things from another perspective. Being able to understand how women feel in relationships as a woman, as a man, understanding how a woman feels in a relationship, and vice versa, women understanding how men feel in a relationship. But if we are selfish and if we are vindictive, you know what I'm saying? Like children, and we're stuck in those adolescent comfort zones, then it doesn't matter. You know, because we don't care about how you feel. Children don't. The child mentality will not allow us to care or be able to see things from another person's perspective, because it ain't about your perspective. It's all about me. And that's what this world is all about right now. You know, this is, again, I believe, and I know y'all gonna probably laugh at this, but I believe this is why certain songs like "What Have You Done For Me Lately" became a hit and was so popular. You know, there's another old school song that was out, "Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent." You got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. You know, this is from the mindset of children thinking out loud, talking out loud. This is how children, grown men and women, do not operate from this selfish mindset. And so we have to come out of it. We have to be brought out of it. You know, I told you all earlier that I studied this. I I guess I can share this with you guys. I went to the University of Islam. I'm not the university, the nation. I went to the Nation of Islam. They were having a seminar on this thing called Dianetics. They was having a seminar, and I attended it along with Minister Rahim. You know, and this Dianetics thing is was created by the founder of Scientology. Now, just saying Scientology in itself is like a super turn off. It's almost like how they used to say studying black magic and things of that nature. They called it the occult, you know, or they give certain little negative stigmas, almost kind of like how they remember if you saw my episode last week when we were talking about black, how they try to make you see black and how they want you to view black and they want you to view it from a negative perspective. It's the same thing as they were doing with the occult. Now, I'm not saying that there is that people have not used the occult negatively, but the promotion of the concept of the occult is very demonic, but in all actuality, and witchcraft and black magic and things of that nature, they make it seem as if okay, because you hear the word in there, black, right? Black magic. So it's a negative magic. It's a bad magic. So they want us to believe that everything black is bad. So this black magic is witchcraft and it's devilish and things of that nature. And they've added on to it uh, psychology. They made us to believe psychologists and psychiatrists are the boogeyman, you know, which, to be honest with you, a lot of these white, well, I put it like non-black, a lot of them are, you know. This world is about money. You know what I'm saying? It's about getting paid. It's not about helping you, you know, which is what the hypocritic oath, you know, a lot of them supposed to take this, they hypocrites because they take an oath. And you know, being a hypocrite is when you say one thing and you do the other, the opposite or whatever. You know, a lot of these psychiatrists, and it's not their fault. A lot of them is not their fault. Because just like in religion, you know, everybody has to go to school and be taught how to be what they want to be. If you are a priest, they have a school for priests. If you want to be a plumber, they got a school for being a plumber. They have a school for being a lawyer. They have a school for everything, you know, so they can teach you the way they want you to perceive that that job or that occupation or whatever. And it's the same thing as a doctor or a psychiatrist. They don't teach you to go to school, pay all that money for however many years. I think you have to go to school 4, 5, 6 years to be a doctor. I don't know what it is to be a psychiatrist, but it's probably not that far from that. And you're paying all this money to go to school, and you go into debt, loans, student loans, and things of that nature, so that you can get a job helping people, but not making no money. You broke as hell, you hungry and almost out of doors, but your whole the so-called whole purpose for becoming a psychiatrist is to help people. This is what they want us to, to believe that's what it is. Well, maybe that's how it started out, but that's not how it is now. But I digressed, but I want to get back to Dianetics when I went to the Nation of Islam, because we only got about 4 minutes left in the show. We went to the Nation of Islam, and they gave us a seminar and a presentation on this process called Dianetics. Maybe on another day, maybe I'll go into that. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this. But the part 2 of this next Saturday is going to be on Dianetics and what it's all about, and how I believe this white man, L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard, he's the founder of Scientology, and he's the man that came up with this concept of healing people from their, he calls it engrams. And what these engrams are things that are holding us back when we go through traumatic experiences, and even having an operation, according to him, L. Ron Hubbard. When you have an operation, even that's a traumatic experience. You're unconscious, but you're still experiencing this traumatic experience, the operation, that traumatic experience. And so the method of auditing, this is a concept that he came up with in order to help people to erase these traumatic experiences off your timeline. Again, real, if I start going into it now, I only got about 2 more minutes. I'll never finish, and I don't want to really, but I'll just leave us with this: that I believe the Creator sent me to the Nation of Islam to experience this. Because while I was there, I went through a auditing process where they, I came out of it realizing that I had issues with my mother. And because of these issues with my mother, that was the fuel behind my mental thoughts about women. How I thought about women had a large connection to how I saw and thought about my mother. I had no idea. And again, next week we're gonna go into. We're gonna go into it in detail, so that we can see, because the emotional part, this, in the society now, everybody's talking about mental illness and things of that nature, but we talking about it, but the help is not there. Even though they have all this out there, they're saying that you can just call a number and people, you can go and get help and this and that and another. I don't know if there's a dollar sign connected to that. But again, there is a way that we can be healed from these traumatic experiences, even at this age, and we can, again, become and evolve and grow into our bodies emotionally and psychologically as men and women. That's my time, y'all. So I thank you all for listening. And again, this is Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. a.m. I'm sorry, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. every Saturday. So you check us out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your wife, your mother, auntie, everybody to check this out, because I believe this is going to be something that's going to help us as a people. I don't want to say get to the promised land, but maybe I'll use another phrase, get over the hump. Okay? Thank you all for listening. I'm out of here. I'm Minister Omari Jahi Aton, and I'll see y'all next week. Peace.